Good evening, and thank you all for joining us. My name, as you heard, is Dr. Lecia Adams Kellum, and I'm the CEO of the Los Angeles Homeless Services Authority. Before I begin, I want to thank my fellow speakers, Mayor Karen Bass, Supervisor Hilda Solis, Councilmember Eunisses Hernandez, and LAHSA Commission Chair Wendy Greuel. Thank you all for joining us. I want to also give a special thank you to our Lived Experience Advisory Board co-chair, Sean Pleasance. So good to have you with us again this evening. I hope and pray that all of your families are safe after the wildfires that devastated our communities. Often, it is a tragedy that shows the true character of a community. You cannot understate the power behind a community unifying to change the lives of those around them. And you're seeing it happen right now in Altadena and the Palisades, neighbors coming together to uplift each other. And it is in that spirit that I welcome you to the El Rio Community School and the 2025 Homeless Count. For the next 3 nights, thousands of neighbors, family members, and friends will gather together at nearly 150 deployment sites across LA County to count their unsheltered neighbors. They do this because they want to do their part to help their neighbors, family members, and friends who were forced to live on the streets because they had no place else to go. They do so perhaps because they are starting to see the light at the end of the dark tunnel of homelessness. Last year's count showed that the collaboration and innovation driven by the people on this stage is beginning to yield results. Unsheltered homelessness in both the city and county fell for the first time in years. And when LAHSA released its system data later in the year, we found out why. Thanks to the alignment between LAHSA, the city, and the county around enhancement resolution and the addition of new permanent housing, the rehousing system permanently housed 45% more people from the street in the FY 23-24 than the previous year. And in addition, 32% more people came off the street and into interim housing. That is the power of collaboration. These are the results we see when we get on the same page and work towards shared goals. While we cannot predict the wildfire's impact, our community is ready to come together to better understand our unhoused neighbors and develop innovative pathways to bring them home. Regardless of what this week's efforts tell us, people in the city and the county of LA need to know that we've been united and working together to end this humanitarian crisis on our streets. Before I turn the mic over to our next speaker, I want to thank every volunteer for taking the time and energy to help us end homelessness. We appreciate you, your efforts, and your dedication to bringing our unhoused neighbors home. And now, I'm happy to introduce our next speaker, Los Angeles Mayor Karen Bass.
Good evening, everyone. And let me begin by thanking my colleagues that are here with me today. Here we are again, another year where we're coming together to do the point in time count. I know that every year that we stand here and every day that we work to get Angelinos housed and work to end homelessness, this is an important evening because it will allow us to see progress made and how much more needs to be done. I think we are all proud of the fact that our collaboration has led to a decrease in street homelessness, and we have made a difference. However, all of us know how much more needs to be done. Getting people off the street is the first step, because no Angelino should have to suffer on the street. We know that several people who are on the street tonight will not wake up tomorrow. And how can we be in the nation's second largest city and accept this? But our work together is the way that we will see an end to this. But now, just a few weeks ago, we're faced with a new crisis that has a possibility of impacting the numbers, the people who were left unhoused because of the fires, especially or who in shelters right now. So we might see an increase in those numbers, but I think what is most important is that all of us are committed to ending homelessness, to getting people off the street, to addressing why they were on the street to begin with, and then to move them from interim housing into permanent housing. We know in our city we need to build tens of thousands of units, and I think all of us are committed to doing everything we can to expedite that process. Let me just say that while we get people off the street, we are also going to have to look for ways to house people that is less expensive and that is more robust when it comes to the services that are needed. So I'm proud to stand here with my colleagues, and especially proud to introduce our County Supervisor, Hilda Solis, who has served the public for many years on a number of different levels. And I have to say that I always take pride in working with her and with the very specific difference that she has made to housing people in the Hilda Solis village that I often take people to because I think it is a wonderful example, and I think you finished that village in a matter of months. You still have to show the councilwoman and I the secret sauce for how you got that done, but you've just done an excellent job in getting Angelinos housed. Supervisor Hilda Solis.
Thank you so much. Good evening, everyone. I'm happy to be here, and I want to thank especially Dr. Adams Kellum for bringing us here and her leadership. She's really helped to bring us together. There has been a change, a tremendous change in leadership with the City of Los Angeles and the County of Los Angeles. And it's not lost on many of us how important this partnership has been. And I know I've been doing this now for the last 10 years, standing here on the point in time count. But it's a bit different now. And part of it is because the urgency is still with us. And I know that there's a lot more work to do. The County of Los Angeles, as you know, works with the 87 other cities in the County of Los Angeles as well. And we know that here in SPA 4, where we are here tonight at Lincoln Heights, and I want to thank LAHSA for identifying this space because we know this is the epicenter. This is where the largest number of unhoused concentration of people live. And I want to say proudly that I represent the area as well as the mayor, as well as our Councilwoman Eunisses Hernandez, and the fine work of all of the LAHSA, as well as our own county departments. The work has to go on. We know that we're not going to get out of this anytime soon, but we know, as the mayor said, our numbers have really gone down in the past, and part of it is showing that we can actually put more than just words, but put words into action. And that is building more housing, interim as well as permanent, carrying out other things that I think are very vital. Yes, the mayor just spoke about us building 232 units over on Vignes Streets. We did it in 6 months, but we know that we can replicate that model and do it in other parts of the County of Los Angeles, especially now as we're facing this fire. There are different ways of helping to build out a low-income, affordable, interim, and permanent housing units, and making sure also that the wraparound services are provided. We have an obligation to use the new monies that the voters just approved to help to provide those wraparound services, and we have to be cost-effective, transparent, and accountable about all of that. I also want to say that while I'm representing Lincoln Heights here today, I also represent Skid Row, as well as the mayor, as well as MacArthur Park, where our councilwoman also reaches that particular area. These, for me, are the epicenter for where homelessness is abound. And we have to do so much more to understand that population. and we have to get our arms around it. I can tell you that we implemented a plan, and I know Ms. Greuel was a part of that as well, and I know LAHSA was, the Skid Row Action Plan. And it wasn't made up of just bureaucrats. It was the actual people who live on Skid Row and the providers. We were able, over the last few years, to move over 1,000 people into permanent housing, and we served 2,000 of them in interim housing. To me, that is a major milestone. Those are real efforts that can make a difference in the lives of people. We're also creating a special safe services space over on Skid Row, Harm Reduction Health Hub, that is soon to be coming on board. We're also going to replicate part of that over at MacArthur Park, working with the city councilwoman as well as the mayor and our county departments. And these aren't just things to talk about, they're real action items that are going to be taking place. And yes, we're going to do more, but tonight is very important to be able to get the accurate count and to make sure that we have enough volunteers out there to help us, no matter where you're at, if you're under a tent, or if you're near a car or an RV or whatever it might be, that we're going to be counting you, because every person counts. And we know that we have a mission, and that mission has to happen now. I just want to say briefly in Spanish, es un honor estar aquí hoy día en este momento para continuar esta reporte que vamos a hacer, que nos va a ayudar a aprovechar y tener más equipo y cosas para ayudar a las personas sin viviendas. Sabemos que nosotros podemos hacer el cambio para cambiar las vidas de personas que viven en la calle. Y hoy ya sabemos que empezamos en este tema. Vamos a tomar 3 días tocando las puertas, hablando con personas y viendo cómo vive la gente sin hogares. Y me da bastante gusto estar aquí hoy día con el alcalde, Mayor Bass, con la consulada representando el área 1, Eunisses Hernandez, también LAHSA y todos los que están aquí. Pero especialmente quiero decir gracias a los que están voluntando sus horas para ayudar a nosotros a contar y tener estos números para seguir en la lucha para tener más servicios para las personas sin hogares. Y con el fuego que pasó en Altadena y Palisades, sabemos que hay muchas personas que son inmigrantes también, personas que también están en una área ahorita que mejor no tienen donde de vivir, y tenemos que ayudar a ellos. So with that, members, I'd like to introduce our next speaker, and I'm very proud to introduce her, somebody that I got behind a long time ago and served as a commissioner for me, and that's Councilmember Eunisses Hernandez. Eunisses.
Hello, good evening, everyone. My name is Eunisses Hernandez. I'm the council member representing the 1st District in the city of Los Angeles. Welcome to the 1st District. Tonight, we stand here at El Rio Community School, a pillar of Council District 1, to kick off one of the most important civic efforts of the year and the largest effort of its kind in the country, the 2025 Greater Los Angeles Homelessness Count. Over the next 3 nights, thousands of volunteers will spread across Los Angeles, block by block, to make sure our count is as accurate as possible. Because we must make sure every single person experiencing homelessness in Los Angeles is seen, counted, and accounted for. We know thousands of Angelinos still sleep on our streets every night. That's why this count matters. It helps us see the full picture, where we've made progress and where we need to push harder. It allows us to direct resources where they are needed most, and it helps people like me better advocate for our district for more resources. But don't stop at the count. Throw down for unhoused neighbors by connecting with them, by providing them connections to service providers. Help keep tenants in their homes by making your voice heard at City Hall. The homelessness crises and the housing crises are both systems of a system that fails to protect people. But I know that together we can end the eviction to homelessness pipeline. We must demand better, we must do better, and we will do better. So let's get out there tonight, let's do the work, let's make this count a turning point for unhoused neighbors here in the city of Los Angeles. Before I go, I want to give thank you to everyone standing up here with me tonight. Dr. Lecia Adams Kellum, CEO of the Los Angeles Homelessness Service Authority. Mayor Karen Bass, for your consistent leadership. Thank you so much for being a leader, not only here in LA, but a cutting edge leader across the country on homelessness and being one of the first mayors to drop homelessness. Thank you for that work. Supervisor Hilda Solis, representing Supervisor District 1, and Sean Pleasance, Lived Experience Advisory Board Co-Chair. Thank you so much for your time and expertise. It's now my incredible pleasure and honor to introduce Wendy Greuel, Chair of the Los Angeles Homeless Services Authority Commission. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilwoman. And this is tonight one of three. So I put out the call to anyone who's watching this evening or reads about it tomorrow morning to please sign up. We have 2 more nights where we could utilize more people to make sure the count is effective and is correct and accurate. As mentioned, the funds that we receive are dependent upon the numbers that we have, dependent upon actually delineating how many people are in each of these communities. And as mentioned, it's also about what kinds of services we need to provide. Mayor Bass, when you came in, you declared it an emergency, first time ever on the issue of homelessness, and understood the seriousness of that. And the county followed suit, and it is now, I think everyone in Los Angeles knows how important it is to address the issue of homelessness. For LAHSA and the leadership of Dr. Adams Kellum and the others that have worked tirelessly to make sure we have an accurate count, I thank you very much. Many of my commissioners are not here tonight because they are out in counting into various areas, coordinating at different locations as part of our effort to support them. But no one believes that anyone should call the streets their home. And so it is heartbreaking many times. And Mayor, we've done this together when we've gone out and seen homeless individuals and families, and it is heartbreaking. So we want to not only have this count so we can identify where people may be, how many we have, but more importantly, to put that human face on the fact that people are calling the streets their home and what we can do, and the leadership. Thank you, Councilwoman, on housing and working on eviction areas. So it is my pleasure to be here on behalf of the commission, but I also want to be able to introduce Sean Pleasance, who is co-chair of our Lived Experience Advisory Board, which is an important part of what LAHSA does and others to ensure that we have the voices of individuals who do have that lived experience so that we understand the kind of trauma-informed care and how we deal in the issue of counting for the homeless. Sean.
Can I get a moment of silence for all those who are still experiencing homelessness like I once was? Good evening, Madam Mayor, and all of our distinguished guests. It is an honor to be able to speak with you tonight and kick off the 2025 homeless count. When I became homeless, I had no idea that it would take over 10 years to become housed again. I remember those last days before I lost our home. We packed furiously, putting our belongings into storage and loaded up our Ford Explorer. We were so sure that we would find a place in a week or so. A year passed before we realized that we were homeless. The collapse of my company and the loss of my mother to cancer had spun me into a downward spiral. I was not prepared for those 10 years that would follow. I saw things that I should never have seen, and I experienced things that no person should ever experience. I thought a lot about what I want to share today. Stories of violence, hunger, fear, pain. You've all probably heard those. I've decided to share with you a day that I will never forget. I was in my tent in Koreatown. It was a really warm day. The heat was radiating upward from the ground. I was trying to stay cool, but it wasn't working. I was hungry and dehydrated. A friend in my encampment came over to me and told me that there was a guy walking around asking about me. He then told me that he claimed to be my brother. I immediately froze. I asked, "Who did he say he was?" And repeated, "Your brother." At this point, I hadn't seen my older brother in years. The only family I had been in touch with was my father, and I would call him 2 to 3 times a year. We used to speak every week. It had become difficult to share what I was going through with him. So whenever I called, I just said that I was fine. I felt like I was a burden that he didn't need at that age. Well, next I'm told that my brother is just outside of my tent with food from Trader Joe's and drinks. I then hear his voice say, "Sean, are you there?" I couldn't speak. He says, I've been looking for you over the years and finally found you. I brought some food and drinks for you. I quickly zipped the opening of the tent shut and sat there holding it closed as if he were going to break in. I couldn't let him see me like this. Dirty, smelling of funk and urine, sitting in filth. This was the brother that taught me how to throw a football. Yes. We used to race running up and down the driveway as kids. He would play practical jokes on me all the time, and he was always there as my protector, whether I wanted him there or not. No, I can't let him see me this way. I did my best to carry on small talk, though, through the closed tent, but I failed miserably. All I could do was hold on tight to that zipper and cry. I never felt so small in my entire life. I was filled with emotions, shame, guilt, embarrassment, sadness, anger. But the worst was feeling undeserving or worthy of help. As I later discovered, sometimes it's the hardest to receive help, especially from those closest to you. In my case, it eventually took a total stranger. A lot has happened since that day. I have been sober for 5 years and 3 months. I've been housed for nearly 5 years. I've dedicated my life to being an advocate for the homeless. I serve on many councils and boards. I've been honored to speak to mayors and members of the state and federal Congress. I get to help improve our ability to help others in need. What more could you ask for? But most importantly, I get to make sure that no one else feels small, unworthy, or undeserving of help. Tonight, we all have an opportunity to be part of the solution. Tonight, we kick off 3 days of communities coming together to help their neighbors. Tonight, we can all count. Thank you.